Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody's had a good weekend. Happy Friday, or had a good week. Weekend's coming. It's a thing. And of course, the Shadow Blazer's here. Did you get the files?
No, they're just too big and they take too long to download. I'll pick them up tomorrow.
Yeah, why don't you bring the other USB drive, and we'll just download it here. Because here's hoping one of our recordings will be actually super short. Excuse me. I hope no one's offended that I blew my nose on mic. Not you guys. You guys are used to it. Chat. It's amazing what these guys are used to.
We're used to a lot of things. That's true.
Indeed.
I'd make a Pink Panther joke here, but I think I'm the only one here who's seen Return of the Pink Panther.
I've seen it. It's just been an incredibly long time since I've seen it.
It depends. Like I've seen a bunch of stuff, and I can actually tell you like the titles. But because I used to love Pink Panther back in the day, like as a kid.
And for people wondering, I'm talking about the original the original films with Peter Sellers, not.
Yeah.
I mean, Steve Martin, bless his heart, he tried. He really did. It's just.
Well, I like the animated series too. I like it.
Well, yeah.
I especially like that new the '90s one where they tried to make him like edgy. I think it kind of worked.
I didn't. Keep in mind, I grew up watching the ones that would show in theaters, the ones that were silent, that they didn't talk. And the first time I saw an episode where they had the Pink Panther talking, I'm just like, what the hell? I mean, it wasn't like as shocking as, say, Tom and Jerry, but I'm just looking at this and I'm just like, these people do not get it at all. They probably just saw Garfield and Friends and thought, hey, let's copy that.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, just the reference I would have made is because I think it's Return of the Pink Panther. No, it's Revenge of the Pink Panther. Inspector Dreyfus has the glider that looks like a gun, and he accidentally confuses it with an actual gun. First when he tries to kill Clouseau, and then I just remember the line where it's just like, hey, call a doctor, and then help me find my nose. Of course, not nearly as funny as when Inspector Dreyfus chokes out the therapist.
Yeah.
Yeah, these films get kind of dark by today's standards when you think about it. But then again, that's comedy. Comedy works because it is based in suffering.
I just barely realized we can get
Part of the problem.
We can get a lower third again. Yay!
It's been too long.
So then at that point, nobody will ask us, who are you again?
All right, now to just give it my logo. If it'll let me, maybe. Hopefully. No, I guess not.
I'm just curious. Is this going to be offensive for people? Alex, what do you think?
I can barely make it out because your resolution's not all that great. I host this shit. Or you said I host this shit?
Well, I host the show, yeah. I'm kidding. I'll just put my Twitter. That'll work just fine. What I was going to do, and I'm still working on it. Let's see if I can actually make it work. Can I do Screecher? Yes, I can. Yay! Okay. Yeah, just put it.
Let's try this. There we go. It's a shame I can't get my actual logo on my lower third, though. I'm just stuck with the picture.
Let's see. Can I actually do this?
I'm just stuck with the picture on the Google Plus account that I never used because they held comments hostage.
Okay. No, it won't let me do it. But I was gonna use this. I'm Groot. I'm Groot. I'm Groot.
We know you're Groot.
I'm Groot.
Are you sure? It sounds more like Gollum.
I'm Groot. I can do that too. It's not recommended, but I can do it.
Well, we can't all be Vin Diesel.
No, we really can't.
Yeah.
And for those who
Plus,
claim
Robbie-
to be able to be him, well, reconsider your options.
Well, unless you are Vin Diesel. I mean, if you are, hi, thanks for watching or listening.
Well, if Vin Diesel's watching, then great. Amazing. I'm happy about that.
We may just have to roll some charisma checks just to be safe.
All right.
Unfortunately, I don't have my D20.
I don't have a D20, so that's going to be a problem.
Yeah. That I used for that insert shot in the Genshiken Plays video. Like, literally, that shot was like an honest accident because I was just getting some reference because I was going to animate on top of it, but then I rolled, it landed on the 20, I'm just like, okay, I'm going to use it.
Yeah, there you go.
And it was like, okay,
All right.
it landed on a 20, it landed it right in frame perfectly, and I'm just like, okay, I'm going to use that just saved me a bunch of work.
So while we are waiting for Aldo to get here, there's a couple of things that need to be addressed because we've been asked, and they're not going to be addressed in the official episode tonight. So viewers, you're gonna have to go to YouTube to get our opinions on this. First of all, and it's all game stuff, so this is gonna be really quick to go through, and everybody can give their opinions. First of all, holy crap, guys, you gotta leave me alone about Darksiders 3. You gotta do it. I already am aware of the game. Opinions on Darksiders 3. Well, I guess according to a few people, I've got to eat some crow because early on in the Radio SLCC days, I actually did make the claim, and I do remember making it, that I didn't think after the whole THQ bankruptcy thing, the Darksiders 3 was a possibility. So I guess I'm eating crow today because that's the thing. It's happening. So there you go. My thoughts are, I'll probably review it. I'm not looking forward to it, but I'll probably review it. Anybody else on this panel know what Darksiders is?
No.
I have the games installed on my consoles,
Yeah.
and basically it's not because I'm like, oh, I actually sought them out. Both times I got them through Humble Bundle.
Yeah.
So, like, literally, like, I have Darksiders 2 on my Wii U because I got it through the Humble Nindy bundle. And then I got it again when I did the THQ Nordic bundle, which came with both the remastered ports of Darksiders and Darksiders 2, along with a bunch of other games that I really need to set aside time to play. So I know of the series, I know the concept, and as someone who's interested in folklore, I find the concept interesting. Basically, like, oh, the war, the Horsemen of the Apocalypse, accidentally starts things too early and has to fix it. And then after the events of the first game, where he's punished for it, his brother Death has to go help him. I mean, as someone who kind of likes it when people play with that kind of mythology, I find it interesting. I mean, that's kind of why I like what Highlander the series did, where you have the concept of, oh, you have these four immortals that call themselves the Four Horsemen, and they become so notorious and ubiquitous throughout history that they basically end up in the Bible.
What I'd like to point out, though, Romney, is simply you have officially explained the game's plot better than the games did.
Yeah, I get the feeling.
That's my issue.
That's the problem
with
with
people. Is that I don't have a problem with Darksiders 1. Darksiders 1 is fine. It's a great brawler. If anything, I got a little frustrated when portals got involved. Yeah, you actually get a portal gun in it in the latter end. Like that's the thing. Like everybody who brought it up to me was like, "This is a darker Zelda." How? How is it a darker Zelda? Yeah, you get gadgets and stuff like this. Happens in every other game. I'm sorry, but a darker Zelda? And two, I'm thoroughly convinced it didn't even know what it was. So,
yeah, that was the big thing I've heard about it, because I heard, oh, it's like a Zelda clone, but then I was thinking, looking at some of the gameplay, I'm just like, looks more like it's trying to be a Zelda clone, but it also wants to be God of War.
That's the thing. Darksiders 1 was trying to be God of War and Devil May Cry, and I'm okay with that because I like how those games play. 2, however, was trying to be, well, Darksiders, Devil May Cry, all the stuff that it was in the first game, Diablo, or any roguelike, roughly, Mass Effect, where you actually had like the equivalent of like Paragon and Renegade choices. Like you could go more evil, or you could go like redemption kind of thing. And on top of that, like when you think Darksiders, you kind of brought it up. 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, right, Romney?
Yeah, except they changed 2 of them.
But here's the thing. 2 actually had me for like the first 20 minutes, and it was because it was doing something I didn't expect. It threw me into a fantasy world with dwarves, or like earthly dwarves and all that stuff, and then it threw me right back into the death and destruction. I'm like, that would have been really cool if this was the entire left hook for the entire game. I would have been okay with that. But no, this is more death, doom, and destruction. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, like the concept interests me a little bit just because, again, both my older sister and my younger brother, they're both major nerds. They both got degrees in anthropology. Yeah. And so whenever it comes to stuff like this that goes into the lesser known aspects of mythology, because a lot of people tend to forget, yeah, Christianity is the dominant religion, but there's a whole lot of mythology there most people, even devout followers, don't even really know about. I mean, it's kind of the same problem that it's kind of the same problem that El Shaddai Ascension of the Metatron ran into, where it's you going off of a really obscure part of the Apocrypha that most people don't know about. I mean, when people hear Metatron and aren't religious, they think, what, is that like a transformer or something? That was my thought when I first heard the term. But then when I actually like read the concept and looked into the story, like, oh, you're playing as Enoch, you're trying to find these demons that escaped. Oh, and the person who's helping you is Lucifer before he fell. And I'm just like, okay, this is actually kind of cool.
Yeah, it's unfortunately this game or this series just didn't live up. I've already said a couple of times, Darksiders and Darksiders 2 strikes. Darksiders 3, if it makes 3, then I'm like, if there's a 4, and I doubt that there will be a 4 if this one isn't successful, I'm done. I'm done with the series.
Although that leaves me to wonder, though. I mean, if they really wanted to differentiate the games based on the different horsemen, that would have been well and good, because I know that was the pitch that kept playing on the GameStop video ad nauseum when they were promoting.
We don't even know if that's the actual equation at this point now, because to my knowledge, and people might need to correct me on this, but when I looked up the information, this isn't a horseman we're aware of. So this isn't like pestilence or famine. To my knowledge, I've not found an article where the horseman is named. And so at that point, I'm like, is it pestilence or famine? Because that's who's left.
Well, and I know they changed famine in the games, and that was one of the complaints that I heard, is that they changed famine to a completely different concept, even though if you're doing the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse, now I get it. Famine is something that's hard to convey in a game. I mean, if I were the weird game designer, I probably would go that, okay, let's have each game feel different because you're playing a different horseman. So with the first one playing War, it would be an action game like Devil May Cry.
Yeah.
For Death, you would have something that would be more of a Metal Gear Solid affair, because death comes without warning, usually without you knowing it's there. And then well, yeah, it's not what happened, but that's how I would do it. And then Pestilence, it would be a real-time strategy game, because you're basically having to determine, okay, I'll send this pestilence here, oh, this section here stopping it. I would have it basically be like a religious-themed version of StarCraft. So kind of like a better version of the Left Behind strategy game that they tried selling. And for Famine, well, we kind of already have something like that. It would just basically be like an inverse of Don't Starve, where instead of scavenging for food, you're basically out, you see the settlers, and you're basically out to try to snuff out all the resources before they get to them. But honestly, at that point, you're basically just playing The Sims.
Yeah, pretty much. Aldo is not here yet, and unfortunately, we're about 15 minutes in, so let's go ahead and get things started. The next story might actually get covered next week when more information is actually divulged about it, but unfortunately, it came out the information came out like 2 days ago, and not a whole lot's known. But it actually wasn't a game; it was a movie. So people wanted to know our thoughts on that. So I'll probably just bring it up next week when we know more.
Now I'm just reminded of the Robot Chicken sketch.
It says in the trailer it is Fury. I have seen the trailer, Aldo. Don't get on my case. I remember hearing Fury. I don't remember hearing that was her name.
Yeah, but I think that is what they changed Famine to, is Fury, because, again, hard to make a video game around a horseman called Famine, although you probably could do something fairly creative about it. But let's face it, the games industry, art house games are really a tough sell.
I don't even know if I'd call this curtsy, but that's me. Although, instead of yelling at us, get your butt in here. That's the way it goes. Let's see. Give me a second, and we'll be good to go. Yes, I was forced to watch the Darksiders 3 trailer because my little brother's a fan. So he's like, yeah, you need to watch this. You need to watch this. Oh, really? Okay. I'm not excited for this at all. All right, just let me know when you guys are ready to go. And I'm checking my email, Aldo.
All right, sound speed.
Rolling.
Okay. Although I will try and send you another link if it works. Then cool. If not, then don't worry about it. Okay.
So you having problems with the link?
Yeah. Seems to be a regular thing ever since we had the whole Firefox deal and all that fun stuff. Although I don't think he uses Firefox. There we go. If it doesn't work, Aldo, then no worries. We'll see you next week.
If you're getting 403 errors, I usually try clearing your cache and cookies. That usually works for me.
Okay. All right. While he's working on that, everybody good to go?
Yep.
Okay, cool. 3, 2, 1. All right. Let's make sure everything's up and running. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Geek News, Reviews, and Opinions, the podcast where we talk about the week's events in Geek. And this is the episode for Friday, May 12th, 2017. I am your host, Adam Mickelson. I hope everybody's had a good week thus far. I know we were missing for last week, but, well, it's May, and I know that we had one person working, we had another person at graduations, and we had me dealing with dirty diapers. So that probably wasn't going to work out. Just the way it goes, but it's just occasional. It's May, so I know a lot of people are getting ready for summer vacation. Movies are coming out, all that fun stuff. So we apologize, but we're back, and we're ready to talk about some awesome stuff. And, of course, I'm being joined by my usual panel of fellow YouTubers, fellow geeks, fellow awesome guys in general. And if you aren't following them, you should be. So let's go ahead and start things off with Stephen Romney of Studio Ghost Utah, of From the Shelf, Romney's Reviews. Romney, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Wasn't able to get much YouTube-related stuff done this week, but I've been working on a few other projects I've been keeping in the background. I'm not going to talk about it too much here because I'm not ready to, start pitching everything yet. Mainly because a sinus infection kind of left me unable to record audio for a while. So I basically just I can't record anything, so I'll work on this other stuff.
I understand. That's the other thing too. Is we're all YouTubers, so the summer is supposed to be when we're concocting cool, interesting things for the channel for this 2 to 3 months. And I can already tell you, I got nothing. But that's okay. And then also, we're being joined by the Shadow Blazer himself, Alex Short. How are you doing tonight, Alex?
I'm pretty tired tonight, mostly because I've had a pretty crazy work schedule this week. It's all mornings, but it's 2 different times in the morning. Either it's very early or it's about mid-morning. So it's just sort of oh, okay, I got to be up at this time, then I got to be up at this time, and got to keep my alarms on so I don't forget to set one or the other because I use my phone. So it's just been just crazy all around. And slowly trying to put together a review. Going to go ahead and say it right now. My next anime that I'm going to review is going to be Yuri on Ice from last fall, which everybody loved. So thought it'd be fun to take that one on.
Yeah, especially since we actually covered it a little bit. I mean, it was one of the most watched. I can't remember the statistics from Crunchyroll, but it got one of them, where it was like the most watched on computer or something like that.
Yeah,
something
one
like
of those
that.
honors.
It's not very hipster of you, Alex.
I know it's not very hipster.
To be watching one of the most watched and most beloved anime series of
He
the
should be
last
watching
5
anime
years.
you've never even heard of. All right. Also, you guys
It's
can hear
also-
the voice. What? Go ahead, Olive.
I'm also going to tell you, it's very misleading. There's no Yuri.
I know, right?
Yeah.
There
Okay.
actually isn't the anime term Yuri.
Right,
We're
that's
also
just
being
weird.
joined
There's a
by
couple of
Aldo
guys
Gomez
named Yuri.
of boardoffline.com. Aldo, how you doing tonight? Welcome back, sir.
Good.
All right, good. This is why we bring Aldo on, because he brings in the unexpected. That's how we came up with Raccoons, the Disney Hit Squad, and what other stuff is under Aldo's belt. I will not be silent. Michael Bay goes and loves me.
Well, there was the badass elephant phase. We can't
The
forget
badass elephant
that.
base.
Oh, badass elephant, yeah.
And recently on our Resident Evil playthrough, there was we're going to try and rule 34 everybody in the Naruto universe, because why not? We can. All right, and this is the panel that you guys are dealing with, so let's go ahead and get into tonight's stories. Once again, it is May, so we're getting ready to get into the big summer announcements. Obviously, the summer movie season has already started with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, so that's kicked off. But we do have kind of a light week, but I think it'll work. And the first thing we have is more YouTube stuff, because, well, YouTube, we love you. You let us do these live streams so that we can get connected with our community. But we also love it when people just slap you right across the face. I don't know why, but we do. And it works. And this time it was, well, in a weird way, Phil DeFranco. So in case people are not aware, Phil DeFranco has made the announcement that he is going to basically start his own news network. And so the link, I think, on the YouTube video actually goes to his Patreon now, where he can where you can go and sponsor him and be able to help with this process. But he's now kind of pointed out to the world that this is what he wants to do, because if you haven't watched his show, which thankfully because of these panelists I'm a little bit more familiar with, is he tries to, and I'll give him credit, he tries to go from both sides of an argument on a particular issue and goes to a great length of detail to be able to make that work. I've been actually surprised with some of the stories that he's been able to cover. And so now he's got the aspiration to create a news network to be able to do this.
Well, he's always
full-time.
had it. It's not.
He's
like a
always had it,
recent
but
thing.
now he wants to take it to a bigger scale. So, I just getting into my opinion on the matter, I think it's a great idea. I have considered whether or not to support it, because I do think that that's one of the major problems we have right now, unfortunately, with the age of cable and the age of the internet. Finding objective news is hard. In essence, I think a lot of people, if you want to be able to get something resembling a neutral perspective, you have to watch about 2 or 3 news programs to be able to do it.
That's if you're lucky.
Yeah,
if you're lucky.
And it gets even worse if you're actually trying to report on the said story, because then you probably have to go through about 6 or 7 to make sure you have everything down and be able to properly source everything. And so at that point, I actually appreciate his effort, and I really hope and wish the best for it. I hope this works out, because there aren't too many people out there right now who have this goal, who have this aspiration, and I can't even believe I'm saying this should have been something we should have had a long time ago. And we don't, but we don't. That's the way it works. We do have an additional YouTube story on this matter, but let's go ahead and get into our opinions on Phil DeFranco basically going rogue, basically starting up his own news network. Do we agree, disagree? Do we think he can pull it off? That's the big question that a lot of people are bringing to me, is like, do you think he can pull it off? Because he's going to be contending with other news networks.
To be fair, if you don't think he can pull it off, you don't watch the show. Like, I mean, I think. Hold on, let me go to Patreon real fast. Where's he at?
Oh, I had the link up for a while there. Is it not in the agenda anymore? Oh no, it's not.
I don't.
You don't check our agendas anymore.
I don't download Word files.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay. Here we go. Phil DeFranco.elite.com.
15. Okay, it's fine. No, it's sorry. I'm on Patreon, so like I was just going through all my Patreons. He has 15,000 patrons already. The bottom tier. I mean, optionally you can donate $1, but I think most people are going to opt in for the low tier, which is $5. So like at $5, he's already doing probably $75,000 a month. Mm-hmm. So it's really not a question of if he can do it. It's how long it's going to take him, because for the most part, he just kind of separated from the Discover Network because he was employed by them. So he's kind of doing this whole thing on his own now. Still on YouTube, still free to watch his videos.
I think the goal, aside from the news network, is to keep his shows running on YouTube, isn't it?
Well, it's just to keep his shows running.
We have to keep his shows running, especially in the wake of all of the demonetization and controversy that has been going on.
His goal isn't to start a news network like now, which is a lot of the misconception a lot of people have. If you don't watch like his vlog behind the scenes channel, he says like the first priority is for him to be able to do his job more efficiently. He spends like 6 to 7 hours just doing research before he reports on them. Then like recording, doing the takes, and then he sends it off to his editor, right? So a lot of this is him hiring people to help make the main show better or as good as it can be before he launches into a network, before he starts hiring other writers, other editors, other anchors and stuff like that. So he's not like starting the news network right off the bat. Like I think that's a misconception that a lot of people have. Is he's starting off like he has before, just by himself. Which I mean, if you've followed DeFranco for like any number of years, he did this previously in the past with SourceFed, where they did like five videos a day news channel that he was kind of hands off on, and it was pretty experimental type thing for him. And so this is a little similar to that. Like these aspirations aren't new. The venue isn't new. Like all this stuff isn't new. It's just him kind of finally realizing that he has like the audience to help support him in this endeavor more than anything.
Well, and also the aspect that he wants to make the audience bigger. He wants to be able to make the show bigger so that in turn he can do even more. So that's and you know what? Considering what he does, I actually like I said, I want him to succeed.
Yep, and I think the main distinction here is that he's trying to basically create this so it can counteract some of the more polarized yet more popular news groups like the Young Turks, like InfoWars. Basically, because let's face it, a lot of the news channels, even on YouTube, have become really, really polarized in this age.
Yeah, extremely polarized. I think because at that point, I've seen maybe like 2 or 3 new ones show up, and they are already coming out the gate as extremely. I think one of them was alt-right, so it was completely pro-Trump and all that stuff. Another one was completely pro-social justice warrior, and then another one was, I think, pro. It was a Bill Nye video, so it was like pro-Bill Nye kind of thing. So at that point, if you're starting out the gate with that level of extreme tinge to your opinions, to your stories, it's just not going to help. This is why we don't do politics, because we don't have to go to these extremes.
Yeah, and the big thing to consider is that that's kind of where our news industry is at now, because a lot of people tend to forget these people need to eat, they need to make money off their ideas. I mean, it's basically the new form of yellow journalism that was propagated by William Randolph Hearst back in the day. What sells papers? Controversy. Even if you fudge the truth a little bit, stuff that gets the audience's attention. I mean, if you've seen Newsies and you see Jack's little line saying, "Oh yeah, here's how you sell papers," thing involving naked, death, blood, like all these words that get people's attention, because that's what sells papers. And it's even more so on the internet. Things that clickbait. That's why clickbait exists. Gets your attention, gets you to click. Doesn't matter if it's good or not. The fact that you clicked means they made their money.
Exactly. So before we move into the second portion of the YouTube or of the YouTube stories we had tonight, Alex, you've kind of not weighed in here. So what's your thoughts on Phil DeFranco moving to start his own network, as he puts it?
Well, beyond not much more to say beyond good for him. I wish him all the success. I am a subscriber to Philip DeFranco's YouTube channel, so I'll continue watching him in earnest and keep watching and hoping that he does well.
Yep. So the next story that we actually have came out of the YouTube event. I believe it's called Brandcast, which had a full slate of activities, but more importantly, we had YouTube doing a little. So we got the suggestion by a panelist, but also by a listener who basically wanted to say, oh, this is YouTube going on an apology tour to all of its advertisers. I don't know if it was entirely that. I mean, they still had other shows that they were advertising and whatnot, but yeah, I guess to some extent they were trying to apologize for some of the kerfuffle they've been having with their advertisers, specifically the whole PewDiePie situation, and thus a lot of advertisers going in depth into a lot of the videos that are officially sponsored by their ads and having issues with it. But I don't think it was necessarily that the entire event was based to go on an apology tour, just to continue to showcase what YouTube is doing.
Yeah, and more specifically, being more like, hey, we're sorry this is happening, but here's a bunch of cool stuff we're doing. Please give us money so we can do more cool stuff.
Exactly. I mean, because I know a big portion of this was actually put towards, I think Katy Perry and Kevin Hart. Is that the one? Kevin Hart both have shows getting ready to come out, I think, to YouTube Red. And so at that point, they got a lot of advertising time, which makes sense. And then in the middle of all that, we had YouTube making statements, basically saying, we're sorry that this is happening. We're working with security companies. Who are the two security companies in the story? That we're going to help with this situation, here we go, ComScore and IAS. We're going to work with third parties like that to take care of this issue that some of our advertisers are having, and hopefully we'll be able to bring you back as an advertiser, kind of thing. So I don't think it was just to apologize. I think they completely had an agenda, and they hit all their points as best they could.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and go into that. I mean, I've already kind of put my opinion out there. I read two stories about this, and it's just, I didn't get the whole apology tour thing, because it wasn't just them, apologizing for everything that's going wrong. They were advertising stuff. So I don't necessarily think that's a bad idea. YouTube needs to advertise stuff so that people will go to YouTube Red. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing, like, Kevin Hart and Katy Perry getting shows actually, to me, makes a little bit, before people jump down my throat, it makes sense for them to get shows on YouTube Red and not necessarily like MatPat's Game Lab or things like that. I'm not saying that they shouldn't, but I'm kind of surprised that these weren't the focal advertisements when YouTube Red got announced, instead of Scare PewDiePie, Game Lab, and all that stuff.
Well, to play devil's advocate a little bit, the reason that these shows are coming out now was probably because, and it still is the case, YouTube Red is still a tough sell, especially in the wake of a lot of these advertising issues, especially now that they've dropped season 2 of Scare PewDiePie. Mm-hmm. And it's not just Katy Perry and Kevin Hart. Demi Lovato is doing a show. Ryan Seacrest is doing a show. Ellen DeGeneres is also doing a show on YouTube Red. And they're also doing one with Rhett and Link and the Slow-Mo guys. And so it's very much a case where now they seem to be starting to get the celebrity endorsements of YouTube Red and creating content that ideally for you in YouTube's favor will generate more people actually paying for YouTube Red. Whether or not that will actually work remains to be seen. They've also been trying to do kind of what I call guerrilla marketing for YouTube Red, where they try, I mean, most recently, the Vlogbrothers channel is actually the official distribution of the documentary Kedi on YouTube Red, which is a documentary about the stray cats in Istanbul. And so that's kind of been another subtle way they've been trying to boost the numbers, like saying, oh, we have this documentary. This channel caters itself to a lot of people who are really smart and intelligent, so we'll have the Vlogbrothers distribute this documentary on their channel through YouTube Red, which...
Do we know, out of curiosity, like, actual subscriber numbers for YouTube Red right now? I haven't really looked around, but it almost makes me kind of wonder, like, there's so much emphasis going to YouTube Red. How many people are actually subscribed to it?
Okay,
That's a good
1.5 million as of 2016.
I
Well,
can
So
definitely tell you that's not that's not maybe a big chunk of YouTube's base, but not all of it.
Well, it's sizable revenue, but
Yeah.
that's probably not a number that they're hoping to hit. They're probably trying to go for more Netflix numbers.
You also have to remember that a lot of YouTube Red subscribers probably don't even use YouTube Red because you get it when you subscribe to their Google Play music services.
Yeah.
And the other thing to consider is that most people aren't using YouTube Red for the YouTube Red exclusives. Most of them are subscribing so that way they don't have to see ads. It's really just like, I don't want to see ads, I'll just pay this money for it, and that's pretty much all they do. Because my older brother has a YouTube Red account, and that's literally the only reason he got it was to not have to look at ads.
See,
I have a
that's kind of the
YouTube
reason
Red.
I don't.
Why? It still gives money to the people you watch, except instead of basing it on a view, it bases it on the time you spend watching videos.
But I'm already giving them that money. That's the difference.
Giving them more.
Okay.
Like I mean, I don't know. It's a convenience thing. I think YouTube Red is a really good thing because my money doesn't go to like, if I click on a stupid My Little Pony tart video, like if I watch it for 2 minutes before I click off of it for whatever reason, they don't get my money. My money goes to the people I actually spend, maybe 20 minutes, half an hour, maybe 2 hours worth of videos that I'm watching in a week. So like Phil DeFranco probably gets the most amount of my money because I watch his videos consistently on top of his like vlog behind the scenes stuff. So by that percentage, I know he's actually getting more of my money than that stupid My Little Pony video I might have clicked, or that Watch Mojo video I put up with. Like,
wait! Alex hasn't warned you. Watch Mojo's evil.
They are. Okay, they're not evil. They're just, their lists are terrible.
They're just outsourcing list making, which apart from React videos are the second laziest thing you can do. Like,
well, or can you really be surprised? I mean, literally, their channel was initially a lingerie showcase channel. So honestly, that's literally how they started. Is that they would show videos like, "Oh, here's this stuff from the Victoria's Secret fashion show" and stuff like this. It was meant to be like a kind of like a club, kind of catering to like the club scene, fashion sort of scene. But then they thought, "Oh, we can make these top 10 lists with very little effort and still make a ton of money. Why are we going to these fancy fashion shows? Let's just do this and only this."
And now the title Watch Mojo makes a lot more sense.
Yep.
Strangely enough. Alex, your thoughts on the brand cast? Is this an apology tour, or is this just simply YouTube doing its thing?
Well, kind of. I mean, you've kind of left out two of the biggest aspects of the story. One is the apologies to the advertisers, where she basically is getting on her hands and knees and begging them to come back, even though they didn't leave that much. Yeah. Anyway, and of course, there's also the aspect apology that she is, I don't know if you call it apology, but she is trying to reaffirm the concept of YouTube still being an open platform for people to continue to produce content and not a traditional TV network in that sense, which reassures me, but not at the same time, just because I feel like you could do a little more to kind of, because a lot of the problem with me and the whole YouTube CEO statement here is it's mostly her groveling towards the advertisers. I get it. The advertisers are the ones essentially paying for the site to be up, but you're not really doing much to mediate the damage you've done with the community, your user base. You're not at least ensuring us that, look, we understand there's been problems over the last while between Content ID, between fair use problems, between ad loss revenue. We're trying to mediate this. That's something I would have liked to have seen. Yeah. Is her at least trying to acknowledge that.
Yeah, but
I'm not saying that she'd have the perfect solutions. All right, go ahead.
Well, yeah, to play devil's advocate, though, given that this is specifically an event, it may not have necessarily place to give those kinds of statements.
No, but I mean, here's the thing too. I agree with you, Alex. I think this is probably the time to actually say, like, we know that these issues are happening with content creators and we want to fix them, but well, they didn't. And frankly, if we are like we haven't gotten those responses, Alex. So it's kind of, I would actually dare say it's
That's
kind of half-assed to expect them now.
But at the same,
that is
at the same time,
point, though, because all right,
Go ahead, Alex.
Oh no, go ahead, Alex.
All right. Well, but that is the problem. YouTube absolutely sucks at communication with its user base, and it's after all this, after so much bullshit that's gone on over just the last year alone, and added to more bullshit from the last couple of years. It's when are you going to pull your head out of your ass and finally start doing something?
See, and I just look at it from the perspective of, it's not that they have a failure to communicate, it's that they have no desire to communicate. Because if they had desire to communicate, they would have communicated by now, kind of thing. And look, I've seen game companies, I've seen media companies have issues to communicate, having issues to getting their statements out and actually explaining this is what this is supposed to do. YouTube's had none of this because YouTube has stayed quiet the entire time. So at that point, I don't think it's, I mean, I see your point, Alex, but I think it's more of a refusal to communicate than a lack of ability. I think they've literally just written off the community and said, screw you guys, we're going to run things how we want.
Yeah. To be fair, when you consider that, when you look at how Google manages YouTube and that, even with the kind of user base and numbers they have, it's still more or less a money sink for Google where they're not really turning in as much of a profit. That's probably where that sense of being dismissive comes from, where they're just like, hey, you guys clearly aren't making enough money. You're not the people that we really need to court. We need to court the advertisers. And so that's probably the approach they're coming from.
I think that's entirely accurate because, unfortunately, I think when you look at the vast Google empire, YouTube is but a cog, and unfortunately a cog that isn't necessarily producing the rest of Google is. So at that point, they're not worried about it. Again, it just shows, again, a desire to not communicate because we don't see a need to. We interrupted you all, though. Did you have anything to add on that?
I mean, it's kind of just going along Romney's point. We're not going to get any sort of apology. I mean, in this specific event, maybe we will in the future. Maybe we won't. We can't judge them on something they haven't done until they haven't done it. Weird.
Yeah.
Anyways, but like this was an event for advertisers, right? This is why they said, because I mean, going back to the whole thing of you going, I don't understand why they didn't give Katy Perry and what's his name, Kevin Hart, a video or a show in the first string of Red shows, because it wasn't for them. It was for the users, the real users of the site. Was them telling them, this is how much we support. We're giving money to YouTubers you already watched so they can make higher production stuff. This time around, it's for the advertisers. This time around, the apology was for the advertisers. This time around, it was them telling them, hey, yeah, we have a couple YouTube guys, but hey, check it out. We got Katy Perry. We got Kevin Hart. Hey.
Guaranteed money makers.
Yeah, like that's the point of this show. So for us to be like, oh, they didn't give us an apology, it's kind of us like going to like an ice cream park or like an ice cream shop and being, oh, they didn't have hot dogs. Well, duh, it's a fucking ice cream shop. Like, but like,
you know what? I want that on a T-shirt now.
But at the same time, though, it does suck that they've been royally fucking up they've been royally messing up the last couple of months, and they haven't said anything. So like, I think if we're gonna judge them on this event, we should judge them on what it is. But I mean, overall, yeah, screw them. They've been messing up, and they refuse to see it. Remember when there was this weird subscriber bug, and they came out with their petty video where they were like, "Nope, we haven't done anything. Go to hell."
They haven't done anything, but every YouTuber has done something to make sure that you guys are all subscribed to our channels. Oh, by the way, subscribe to our channels. We really do appreciate it. Okay, sorry. I'll stop plugging now. Final thoughts before we move into the next story, which is going to be going into our usual E3 coverage around this time.
Well, it's just business as usual on the World Wide Web.
Exactly. So let's go ahead and get into the next story here, which is our Nintendo Talk segment for the week. And roughly it's more E3 stuff. So Nintendo has officially put out what they're going to be doing for E3. Now, again, I had a listener who I think took things differently because he literally sent me the message of, oh, look, it's another year where they're not doing a upfront conference at E3. Why do we even pay them anymore? They've been kind of like almost approaching me on the angle of like, they said that they were going to do otherwise. They've been very upfront and clear. They don't want to pay for travel. So they did the Nintendo Directs and the Nintendo Treehouses because that was easier to do.
Now, not to mention it's a lot more strategic when you consider they do these Directs, do these presentations on their terms, and then what do they show at E3? I don't know, just this little thing called games.
Exactly. So at that point, I don't know how. I honestly, listener, I don't know how Nintendo lied to you. I don't know how, but apparently they did, and I'm sorry. So Nintendo has officially stated that they will be having a Nintendo Spotlight on June 13th at 9 a.m. Pacific time, which will have an emphasis on focusing on Switch and 3DS games. We didn't get much more aside from that. We can pretty much confirm that's probably where we're gonna get Mario news. We're probably gonna get Splatoon 2 news, probably ARMS to continue to advertise those. But later on, they're going to be kicking off a Treehouse Live event where they do say that they will showcase gameplay from various Nintendo Switch and 3DS games. I can pretty much guarantee you, since the tournaments already have them, Splatoon 2 and ARMS will be there at the Treehouse. I can't say much more than that. And obviously, on June 13th and 14th, like I just barely said, Nintendo will be hosting tournaments for both Splatoon 2 and ARMS, which can be seen live from its E3 booth. So this is pretty much Nintendo's plan for E3. I'm not surprised by this. That's why I'm saying the listener kind of caught me off guard. Is the last few years they've been very upfront on the fact that this is what they want to do. They want to do Nintendo Directs and Treehouse Live events, and with the trailer for the Switch, it was clear they wanted to do things like tournaments. I mean, even the Smash tournament. What was it? The Nintendo World Championships they did a couple of years ago. They want to do tournaments at E3, which makes sense for them to want to do that. I just don't get where this is a betrayal, that this is a lie.
I mean, do you want Aisha Tyler on stage going, look at me, I play games, here's Zelda, like, I mean, is that what you want? Is that what you want? Because that's not what I want. That's not the future of E3 I need.
Well, to be fair, E3 is kind of already there, and I think even Nintendo realizes that, hey, this is kind of getting kind of lame. Let's bail. Let's bail before it becomes as irrelevant as Sonic. Hi-yo!
Excuse me, I need to go wash my brain because Aldo had to bring up those two words. You know what? That's the Ubisoft conference right there in a nutshell, although you just explained it.
I mean, listen, man, the only good thing Aisha Tyler is good for is Archer, and she should just stick to that. Like,
so, I mean, where's the panel on this? I honestly, like, that's my message to the panel, or to the listener. I don't know what else to tell you. This is what they've done for the last few years, and it's been fine. It's what they want to do, and it makes sense, because flying out Shigeru Miyamoto and Eiichi Onuma and all of them, it's easier to fly out Reggie, because, he's in the States, but the others, not so much.
Yeah, not to mention that doing all of these, like, grand, like, I mean, I think they even kind of saw the blood in the water, because would you rather have Nintendo go, like, fly all these people in and then do, like, something like, oh, here's this big trailer, and then it's just a field trip to Skywalker Ranch?
Let's face it. Come on, Nintendo's got a bit more class than that, I think.
Well, yeah, that's what they do, but let's face it, that's kind of where E3 is headed, where you're going to get to the point where developers aren't even going to show gameplay. They're just going to show, oh, we traveled to this desert in this African country for research.
Hold on, Alex. Because
is it wrong of me that I actually want to see Nintendo go to Skywalker Ranch?
Hold on. You said they have more class, but let's remember their announcement for Star Fox Zero was Miyamoto at a shrine going like, these are the shrines of my childhood.
Good point.
Look, these forests are where I used to explore. Like,
Yeah,
But
They're
at least
getting
they had Muppets.
Yeah, but just
That was
watch.
also the year you had the Muppets, wasn't it?
Star Fox Zero's announcement?
Or was that a different year? I
No,
don't
no.
remember.
You know what? What I'm thinking of is the year before that, where Miyamoto took us into the prototype development, and we got to see like an R-wing in there, and that. So I took that as the announcement. But no, you're right. When they became Muppets, yeah, that was it.
that was a good year.
Yeah,
It was a good year, and it got made fun of, and I don't know why.
Well, yeah, and that kind of proves
Because gamers, it's here's a serious business. Muppets.
Yeah. Plus, that kind of proves the point that Nintendo wants that greater degree of control over how they announce their games, and they realize that because of the internet, E3, there's not really a benefit of doing a big event at E3 that they can't just coordinate between, like, okay, Nintendo Japan, shoot these segments, Nintendo America, shoot these segments, we'll stitch them together, and then release the stream. Like, it's much easier, and I'm guessing to them it's just like, hey, it's cheaper, we have a greater degree of control over how we present our products.
Also, to be fair, if I was living in Japan and they're like, you want to come over to the States and present a video game? And I was like, do I really want to go and hang out with all that Gamergate and SJW bullshit? No, thanks.
But okay, I'm having an ADD moment here, so I got to get it out of my system. To the artists out there on the chat and that listen to the podcast, I now need a Muppet that looks like the Swedish Chef, but it looks like Alex, and I need a T-shirt on it that says "I'm a gamer." And then I want Alex, whenever he goes into that gamer voice ever again, he has to pull out that Muppet. Like, I'm a gamer. Okay, I'm good. I've had my moment.
Well, someone get glove and boots on the line.
On the topic of quality control, yeah, I mean, we can all remember some of the guffs that we've seen at E3 over the last couple of years. I mean, there's like the microphone issue where the translator wasn't coming on, and I don't know, something like, I think it was the guy who was wearing the big old moon face. That was a problem. And
I mean, also
when Hideo Kojima tried to like descend light stairs, but the light wasn't keeping up.
No, that was
fast.
Or when Miyamoto
saying "screw you."
Or when Miyamoto was trying to like demo what was supposed to be the groundbreaking new motion waggle tech for Skyward Sword.
And he had that nervous grin on his face. It's like, it's really good, I promise.
That's just his normal grin.
No, there was a couple of points where he's like, it works better, I promise. But I was okay with it because it was still Miyamoto and I was dumbstruck. Yeah, so like, I mean, my opinion is this is exactly what I expected. And I'm okay with it because that's what I want. I want more Switch games announced. I want more 3DS games. I like the fact that Nintendo is still holding true to the 3DS, even though that they've announced there is a possible successor to the 3DS on its way.
Well, yeah,
so
that's probably more because they don't want to shoot their cash cow while it's still making milk. It's very much, hey, this is the one console that's still doing stuff right. So let's just put it out of its misery slowly while we announce the other stuff. Let's not kill it right away. You can still get some milk.
But the thing that I'm trying to point out is that they still are showing that they are carrying it. Like, remember, Sony threw the Vita under the bus fairly quickly as soon as it was not doing well. And a lot of people, and I've seen a lot of discussions go into, this is what we expect from Nintendo. Switch, 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 switch. And the fact that they actually have 3DS games that they want to talk about, that's good to me. Because at that point it shows that not only are they going to cater to the Switch fan base, they're also going to cater to the 3DS fan base. Because there's a good chance that a good portion of them don't have a Switch. And don't see a reason to get one. They have all their great games on 3DS. So I'm trying to think who else has not gone into their opinions here, because we've gone pretty in depth here. Alex, Aldo, anything else to add?
Like a big urban gamer, serious business.
Urban gamer. Seriously, artists, I need this. I need to have this now. I need a drawing of Alex with a puppet on his hand that has an "I'm a gamer" T-shirt.
It's games. It's okay to have fun.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, honestly, looking at some of the just looking at some of the comments on this IGN article, you could just easily read these in that voice, and it would summarize well.
We're doing this.
Is that a challenge, Romney?
It wasn't meant to be, but It wasn't meant to be, but hey, both of us.
Sounds like it
I
is
don't want an
now.
excuse to buy a Switch, but I need more than Zelda. Bought on Wii U and Mario Kart 8. Bought on Wii U. Even Blaster Master Zero. I got on 3DS. Derp. There you go.
It's more like your cranky old man voice, but all right.
Well, my cranky old man voice kind of is the Swedish Chef for me.
Well, when you think about it, we're getting to the point where cranky old man and angry gamers are starting to become one and the same.
Yeah.
Just give me a motor on stage.
Hey, you Nintendos, get off my shoulder.
For a drop mic and I'll be content.
I feel like they should have showed up like the others. This no-show doesn't look good. Their last presentation was in 2012. Ridiculous. I'm a gamer. Herp-a-derp.
Although, I propose. I want you and me to find a way to go to the EA press conference and just go with "I'm a gamer" T-shirts and do the herp-a-derp-a-der for everything that they announced. Because that's where all the hardcore gamers hang out, right?
Oh my god, it's a Star Wars Skywalker ranch.
It's a Battlefield
I'm sorry. I'm done.
What have I done, people?
I'm sorry.
What
I'm
have
trying to do 5,000. You had to walk in on this.
Welcome to all the brand new listeners who get to hear me and Aldo just be ourselves. Final thoughts before we move on, because we can honestly keep this going for a while. Okay, good. All right, so let's go ahead and move into the next thing, which is so we've officially done this now since Alex actually is the one that finds the stories for us. We have the 2017 inductees for the Video Games Hall of Fame. And well, we have a few familiar faces, I think, from last year. We also have some brand spanking new ones. So we have, let's see, I want to make sure that I have the entire list here.
It's only 4.
It's Donkey Kong, Halo Combat
Donkey
Evolved,
Kong.
Pokemon Red and Green, Street Fighter 2 as the list of finalists.
The new inductees cover multiple decades of styles and play, enjoying games such as... Okay, all right, just making sure. Yeah, so we have Donkey Kong, Halo, Pokemon Red and Green, and Street Fighter 2. Which I believe these are the 4 that are going in, right? This is not the voting phase of it like we found last time, Alex?
Yeah, it looks like actually that these were the ones that they were the ones chosen out of the finalists.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like the first line here says, 4 new games have been inducted into the World Video Game Hall of Fame.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
This is why you
All
read
the giving me
the
crap.
stories, children.
So yeah, thoughts on it is I like all 4 of them. I think they deserve a place in the Video Games Hall of Fame. They've all had their contributions. For as much as some quote hardcore gamers like to think that I'm anti-Halo and don't think that it's actually contributed anything to the games world, that would be wrong. I think it's contributed plenty. For crying out loud,
Yep.
it was an FPS with a storyline. That's rare.
Halo is
mention
why
Hollywood-
Xbox is successful.
Yeah, not to mention Hollywood-level soundtracks. Now, yes, I know people are going to say, but Metal Gear did it first. But hey, this brought it more to a mainstream thing where it was like it's a shooter franchise that's science fiction that decided to actually step up its production values.
Yep.
Because I haven't played any of the Halo games. I'm not a big fan of shooters, but I will say this, the music is really good. I can easily listen to the music and actually see kind of the imagery that it's associated with, because it's just like, hey, it's almost like they actually put thought into this.
Exactly. So at that point, no, I think it deserves its place in history. I think Pokemon Red and Green. I'm kind of surprised that they didn't go full bore and just say the entire first generation. But I guess Pokemon Red and Green, since they were technically the first 2 titles, makes sense. And Street Fighter 2, yeah, that's a game changer,
Yeah,
especially in the arcade scene back in the day.
Yeah, especially without games like Street Fighter 2 becoming as popular as they are, a whole bunch of other fighting games wouldn't exist. Even the concept of special moves. Yes, I know the original Street Fighter for the arcade had special moves, but this was the game that made special moves actually easy to input and execute. I mean, right off the top of your head, and I'm sure we all here, even those of us who don't play fighting games, immediately know what the combo is for the Hadouken.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we know it so well that now current-day fighting games have to implement things that are similar to it because it's more simplistic. And thus we get to deal with the hardcore fighting game guys going, we don't like that things are oversimplified.
Yeah. Honestly,
So,
I don't get that mentality, but then again, that's because, well, hardcore gamers who like taking it, who basically think like, oh, I got to think of frame rates and all of this stuff. Yeah, you can do that. I just kind of want to be able to have fun and know what I'm doing without having to basically get a master's degree.
yeah, exactly.
So one of the things that's kind of interesting looking at all the 2017 finalists was that Halo beat out Final Fantasy VII, which interesting.
It beat up Final
Shocking.
Fantasy VII, Portal,
Yeah.
Tomb Raider, Wii Sports. Yeah, and all of which I would actually
Microsoft Solitaire, Myst, Portal, Resident Evil, and Wii Sports. Those are all the other finalists.
We're probably talking the original Tomb Raider, right? Big Boob Lara is the one we're talking about.
I would assume so.
Yeah, the big blocky boob Laura.
Blocky Boob Lara, yes. Final Fantasy VII, Portal, Tomb Raider. I don't see Resident Evil in here though.
Oh.
Let me double check the website to get it. Nope. Resident Evil was in there. That's awesome. Because that's another one that deserved it. Yeah, that's an awesome thing to see. You know, Portal. I'm surprised that it actually hasn't earned its way into the Hall of Fame, but I'm pretty sure it will earn its day at some point. Wii Sports will do so. Tomb Raider will. So the fact that they picked these four, that says something about these four, especially. Mm-hmm. So I'm especially happy for these four, and I look forward to seeing other titles like Final Fantasy VII and Portal come in later. I'm okay with it. Aldo, your thoughts on the four nominees or for inductees? Are these the ones they should have picked, or is there one that you would have put in?
I mean, this is kind of what I would have. I mean, I think this is what I would have voted for. Honestly, like I'm not the biggest Final Fantasy VII fan. Y'all know this, but I still think it's kind of impressive that Halo beat that out. So, yeah.
Alex and Romney, do you have any additional thoughts on this one?
Kind of with Aldo.
Not really.
I am a little surprised Halo this time beat out Final Fantasy VII, considering Final Fantasy VII is so acclaimed. But hey, Final Fantasy VII will have its day in the sun. Probably when the remake hits, then they'll find it prudent to put it in the Hall of Fame.
Okay,
I think the main thing to consider, at least in the case of Final Fantasy VII, although was wildly acclaimed, even at the time of its release, RPGs were still kind of a niche market. They weren't like the main go-to genre that everyone would pick up, whereas a shooter like Halo had a bit of a more broader mainstream appeal. And so that may be why Halo may have beaten it out, because even at the time of its release, it had its diehard fans and it was financially successful.
Yeah, but part of the reason why I'm surprised is because when you look at their selection criteria, two of the things, or I guess even on all four of the items, actually, I'm a little impressed, because one of them is icon status, longevity, geographical reach, and influence. And the only one where I think Halo really kind of beat it out was probably longevity and maybe influence, because Halo did kind of redefine the whole shooter genre, but Final Fantasy kind of was like, hey, y'all, you want a 120-hour story? Here you go. Like, so I don't know, just based off of their criteria, I'm surprised that 7 didn't take it. But I mean, we could talk about this all day, though.
The part that I'm confused on is, and I asked Alex actually if he could look up the Hall of Fame because my internet's already pretty slow. So, did the original already make it into the list?
The original what?
Final Fantasy?
I don't think so. I'm looking at the list right now.
Because I could have sworn we actually pointed out, or I pointed out that it was there.
It's listed as a nominee, but it's not actually inducted.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. New finalists for Final Fantasy made it in 2016. Okay, so that was the thing that I was kind of hanging up on. I was like, Final Fantasy VII's in there, but the original is in there. Does it make sense for two games to be in there?
Well, it's all yes and no when you consider the impact of each respective game.
Sure.
I mean, Final Fantasy kind of introduced the JRPG to a Western audience. Now that's a whole debate people may argue, where a bunch of people are probably going to scream at me saying, "What about Dragon Quest?" But keep in mind, Dragon Quest didn't really make it popular in the United States. It did in Japan, But in the US, the big JRPG that took off was Final Fantasy, and that was kind of it. Basically came out first. It managed to sink its claws in a Western audience first, and so the original does have its place in video game history. And 7 has a separate, different set of influence where, and I get compared to other RPGs that came out prior to 7, well, 6 notwithstanding, it was the first time a lot of people who probably weren't as familiar with the genre saw an RPG that decided to go with a more darker, more cyberpunk, steampunk sort of setting instead of the usual like sword and sorcery high fantasy setting that you saw in stuff like some previous Final Fantasy, stuff like Wizardry or Ultima or all these other RPGs that tended to cater to a lot of the niche crowds.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, I get that argument. Because where the original Final Fantasy exposed it to a Western audience, and I get the argument with Dragon Quest. I get it, but it's one of those things that will be debated forever. I'm thoroughly convinced. And then 7, I would actually dare say, introduced probably to the mainstream a little bit more than the original one. So let's go ahead and final thoughts before we move into the entertainment portion of this evening.
Glad to see Pokemon got its day in the sun finally.
Yeah!
My question is just like, how legitimate is this thing? Because we have like 20 different awards shows that all claim to be the award show. So I don't.
This is true.
I know that this, like the National Museum of Play, has kind of been established for a while, where they have Hall of Fames for like toys and a few other things. So it's not quite like to the point. I guess it's not trying to be like an award show in the sense of, oh, it's like the Oscars. It's more trying to be akin to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or the Baseball Hall of Fame, where it's like, right, hey, we're not trying to be like, oh, we're not trying to be like, these are the greatest ever. Here's an Oscar. It's more like, hey, these have a place in history. We're inducting them accordingly.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. It's like when you talk about, music legends, you talk about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, regardless of genre, because like you have rap and country and a bunch of different artists in there, right? But that's kind of the Hall of Fame. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Is this the Hall of Fame? Is this the one we're hedging our bets on?
Well, so far nobody else has stepped forward to compete, so.
Yeah, it really looks like it's the only one.
Huh.
All right.
I know the Museum of Modern Art tried for a little bit,
right?
But it was going in a different, keep in mind, the Museum of Modern Art was going in a different approach, going for more the games as art rather than games as an industry unto itself, like this Hall of Fame.
Fair.
All right, let's go ahead and get into the entertainment portion of this evening. And the first story that we have is, well, we had Nintendo talk, and now we're going to have some Sony talk. Because Sony's been fairly busy the last couple of weeks. First of all, with disclosing their annual profits, especially from their film division, which isn't good. Their film division has actually accounted for a loss of $719 million, 80.3 billion for Japan's yen, for the financial year running from April 2016 to March 2017. Now, they have said that a lot of their net gains has been towards TV productions, but their films have not necessarily delivered as well as their TV productions. I'm looking for the exact quote that they have here. The operating results for the picture segment were also negatively impacted by higher programming and marketing expenses for media networks, as well as higher theatrical marketing expenses for motion pictures. So as much as people would like to say that 2016 was a good year for Sony, well, the numbers would say otherwise. Because $719 million, that's a lot of pocket change.
Yeah, especially when you consider some of the creative missteps that we've tracked for a long while having the payoff during that fiscal year. Cough, cough, Ghostbusters, cough, cough.
I don't care what you say, Ghostbusters was bad. It's good. I don't care what all these gamer gay. I don't want these women in my video game.
I'm a gamer.
Yeah, but
anyways, I'm just
yeah. But point being, it still was a factor because it still did not do well at the box office. I mean, say what you want about the film, the numbers don't lie.
A little bit.
Well, it wasn't just Ghostbusters. I mean, Sony had a few movies out that given year. I think Ratchet and Clank was also part of that lineup, and unfortunately, it underdelivered too. So much so that I think now the Sly Cooper movie is very much in doubt. So it's one of those unfortunate issues that Sony has to deal with that actually will affect their budget going into this year.
Not to mention some of the mistakes they made. Canceling the Gendy Tartakovsky Popeye and the Medusa project by Lauren Faust in favor of the Emojis movie.
Yeah.
I'm still very much pissed about that.
But it's emojis, Romney. That'll definitely deliver to an audience, right?
They live on your phone.
Yeah. I could pretty much. There's so many ways I could take that premise where it's just like because we've all.
Sony has kind of deserved this.
Don't you? But don't you want Patrick Stewart voicing poop? Isn't that everything you've ever wanted to hear? The voice of Jean-Luc Picard coming out of animated poop.
Thing is, if I wanted that,
don't you want?
If I wanted that, I would just watch Family Guy because that's more or less what he already does on all of Seth MacFarlane's shows.
Don't you want a man who's been knighted by the Queen and has portrayed Shakespeare multiple times on the grandest of all stages, talking through poop?
My God, yes. Stuart, are you hard up for money or something? What the hell's the matter with you?
I think it's more that Patrick Stewart
might actually blame the fact that he's been spending way too much time with Ian McKellen. I don't necessarily blame that, but I can see their reasoning.
Yeah, I don't think it's so much, oh, he's hard up for money. I think he's just more like, I'm going to do it. I'm Patrick Stewart. My career's solid.
I'm Patrick Stewart, damn it! I played Jean-Luc Picard, and I also played Professor Charles Xavier in the X-Men movies. I'm damn entitled to what I want to do with my money, damn it!
Well, yeah, keep in mind, he also said yes to things like The Page Master and a lot of those other smaller films that weren't as great because...
I like The Page Master.
Well, thing is, here's the key mind. With Patrick
Stewart, we're talking about the Emoji movie here. He's voicing a piece of poo.
Yeah, but keep in mind, Patrick Stewart as an actor is very much someone who will do a role because it looks fun. He's not so much, he's not as concerned with money. He's just very much, hey, this looks like a fun role to play. Even if the movie may not be that great, it's very much, hey, this looks fun. And especially when he's with Sir Ian McKellen, they're pretty much both like that, where it's just like, hey, this looks fun.
Yeah, so unfortunately, Sony has kind of dug its own appropriate... we could easily go into Patrick Stewart for forever, but back on to topic. Sony has pretty much dug its own hole for 2016. They've made some bad choices, some questionable, some bad, some good, mostly bad. And so, unfortunately, they're kind of in this rut, but we also have an additional story for it, which seems a little weird considering that they lost $719 million, but they are actually being considered along with Comcast to put a bid on Funimation Entertainment. So if they're losing if they lost $719 million, why are they even considering this concept? It sounds to me like their film division needs some work.
Well, let me explain where this may be coming from, because when it comes to running a business, this is something we've seen with a lot of businessmen, including our current commander-in-chief, where if you're trying to enter an industry that you're not as familiar with, that you don't have the manpower or the know-how, what do? Well, you buy smaller companies that already have a foothold. So for Sony, they're thinking, okay, well, our film division is completely down the tubes, but maybe if we get into the anime distribution industry, that may level things out. And what's a company that's small enough for us to acquire that already has an established brand with people loyal to that brand that has a solid foothold? Funimation. So from Sony's perspective, they're thinking, hey, if we're going to get a slice of that anime distributor pie, let's, rather than trying to come up with our own anime distributor arm, which they did and produced some really, really horrible dubs as a result, they probably are thinking, well, these Funimation people seem to know what they're doing, know more than us, so let's just buy them because it's beneficial for Funimation because Funimation gets more money and Sony gets revenue from the anime craft picking up an established and trusted brand. So from Sony's perspective, it actually makes a lot of sense for them to try to acquire Funimation.
Okay, for a second there we lost Romney, but I think he was actually able to finish his thought. I was going to actually have you start over because I was afraid we lost you. But it seemed to have caught up. So hopefully, if you guys had issues in the chat, let us know. But
yeah, if all else fails, just listen to the audio version later.
Exactly. Nice plug, my friend. So yeah, we have, according to Bloomberg, that Sony Pictures and Comcast are actually bidding for Funimation Entertainment. And Romney's already made the argument, and I think it's a sound one, why Sony wants to actually get into anime. I don't know whether or not it's in their budget to be able to do so. But I don't know. I want to start with Alex here because you're the anime reviewer, the anime fan here, the hardcore anime fan that goes into the reviews and all that fun stuff. Is it a good idea for Sony to work or to basically buy out Funimation? And I'm guessing they're just going to let them do what they do best. But is it a good idea, at least from your perspective?
I have. It's a little concerning, I suppose. At least Romney kind of puts my mind at ease with his logic behind it. But at the same time, well, I mean, Sony, this is not like a broad commentary on the whole thing, whatever, but it's, what has me kind of perplexed here is like, well, Sony itself, Sony Japan at least, has its own anime production arm that is Aniplex. So it's sort of like, who's really the one kind of courting for Funimation, potentially for Funimation here? Is it mostly Sony America's interest? Is it Sony Japan's interest? How much of their interest between Japan and America are tied here, right? And, let's say for the sake of argument, Sony Pictures does acquire Funimation. Where does this leave a company like Aniplex of America, which is already the direct subsidiary of Aniplex, which is a subsidiary of Sony? I think it's more of a Sony music label, Aniplex is, but so it's just
like PlayStation.
It's kind of strange to me that Sony is suddenly looking at Funimation when Sony already has their own Aniplex arm.
Well, to that, the answer could be, well, can you name of any major Aniplex USA release that actually has done as well in the US? And that's probably the key thing, is that maybe that is courting more for the American market because of how well established Funimation is. And it paid off really well for Aniplex as well, when you consider how Funimation handled franchises like Full Metal Alchemist, for example.
Yeah, but Aniplex has had their share of huge hits. I mean, they've had Sword Art Online, they've had Kill la Kill, they've had Madoka Magica. I really don't know the numbers on Madoka Magica here in the States, but I can definitely say Kill la Kill and Sword Art Online are two huge hits here in the States, at least. Yeah. So Aniplex of America definitely has a foothold. Otherwise, I think their ludicrous pricing model would have ran them into the ground years ago. But clearly it's working because they have the high in-demand titles.
I mean, they also have like the Monogatari series, the Blood Plus stuff. A lot of the Fate, Deke Rayman, they have their hands in a lot of nice little pots.
Aniplex does?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Naruto, Narada Shippuden.
So at this point,
but I'm talking more.
It is a question.
I was kind of more. Yeah, well, I was kind of into that. Although I was more going off of what Romney was asking. Right. How has Aniplex's titles trended here in America? And well, Naruto in particular is owned by the license is by Viz, and I'm just thinking of their shows that have been huge hits, and or at least what I can feel is a good Western audience appeal, like Kill la Kill, like Sword Art Online.
But it does make you ask the question: is like, I would like to actually think of I can't think of a situation where Sony had like two companies that were in the same particular market and probably even competitors, how they handled it, because nothing really is coming to mind. I know how other companies would handle it, which would be they just merge the two and put them into one bigger Sony brand, or whatever company that may be, which might not necessarily be the best case scenario for either Funimation or Aniplex. But
ultimately, the route they might go, if they do go through with this bid, they may just do kind of what companies like, off the top of my head, I don't know, I think it's Media Blasters, where they have the different imprints, like Tokyo Shock, and I think Sentai Filmworks is one of those, where they have like the larger company that is the main parent company, but then they have the different companies that distribute specific titles that are in line with specific niches. That could be a possible route they may go, where they may keep Aniplex USA and Funimation separate and just have what basically Aniplex USA tailor itself to a more niche audience within the American anime fandom.
Yeah, and that probably might be the better way to be able to go about that. Let them be separate, let them have their contracts, and let them do business. Because in the long run, it benefits Sony. And if one of them gets a higher profit margin at the end of the year, it benefits Sony. But I don't know if that's necessarily how Sony is going to look at it, because the other thing, too, that I think Alex brought up as a good point is who's in charge. Is it going to be Sony of America that's running the show here, or is it going to be Sony of Japan? We don't really know.
Yeah, and alternately, are they going to actually try to micromanage Funimation, or are they going to kind of do what Sega does with Atlas, where they just say, hey, we own it, we take some money, but we let you do your own thing?
Exactly, and that's another question that has to be asked. Although you've been kind of quiet on this particular issue, do you think it's a good idea for Sony to be considering getting Funimation at this point?
I think it'd be to Sony's benefit, but I would definitely prefer this to stay on Funimation's. Just I would prefer them to stay on their own. They're really kind of hitting it out of the park with this whole renaissance of anime, especially when you consider the recent agreement that they had with Crunchyroll. Just constant releases of dubs, constant re-releases of DVDs and movies and franchises that probably haven't seen like a whole media release in 20 years. I mean, heck, it's so weird. I can walk down to Walmart and buy a bunch of anime movies, all with the Funimation imprint. I think they're doing very well for themselves. And that's the thing. I don't know how Sony would handle it. Would they be hands-on? Would they not be?
It's not just anime, isn't it? Because I think there are a couple of live actions out there that have the Funimation brand, don't they?
Yeah, but it's all like anime based, so like whatever.
Well, yes and no. They have distributed some live action films that aren't necessarily based on any particular anime, but maybe have some sort of relevance where maybe it's like, okay, it's based on something by a known creator of a manga series, or it's
right. But I'm saying like in stores. Like I literally went to Walmart and bought the Rurouni Kenshin trilogy and the Attack on Titans Part 1 and 2. Like, and I haven't seen anything else. Like, and I'm talking just super mainstream. You don't even have to try to look for it approach. Yeah. So I think they're doing really well. So personally, I would prefer them to keep doing their own thing. Like that's just.
So you'd prefer that neither company make a bid right now?
Yeah. I'm also not as super in depth with like ownership and publishing and distribution and all that stuff as Alex and Romney are. I'm barely kind of when it comes to production houses. So like there's a little bit beyond me.
There's definitely a lot of questions to bring up here, and especially considering we just barely said they lost a lot last year in their film division. So at this point, another question that comes to my mind is, do they have the money to be able to make a bid on Funimation? And we don't know, and that's really the sad portion here. But I think that's pretty much our final thoughts here, guys. Is that we'll obviously cover this if this actually becomes a thing that Sony buys out Funimation. But until then, Sony's future, at least in the film division, and at least as far as Funimation is concerned, is uncertain. And whether or not it's a good idea, big question marks. That's the. I think. Am I in agreement here? That's basically what we could take out of this.
Yeah, it's sort of a huge. We'll have to wait and see what really becomes of this. I'm kind of with Aldo. Kind of more hope Funimation will remain independent. I think since they became independent, they've gotten more ambitious, and they've done very well for themselves by being so ambitious.
I would agree too. I think when you have, I'm not saying every company is like this, but when you have big companies breathing down your throat, which they do on occasion, it doesn't necessarily work out in their favor. Let's go ahead and move into the next story that we have today, and I have a little bit of a confession here, Internet, so please don't jump down my throat. Up until this week, I did not know that Pepe the Frog was a thing.
Really? You work on the Internet. You do.
I had seen the chat memes that you could get, like the chat emojis with Pepe.
I've lost so much respect.
I know. So, yeah. To be perfectly, like, this is the first time I've even actually heard the name, and now I'm finding out there's a comic strip.
You've never heard of a rare Pepe?
I've not, no.
Oh my god, Adam.
No. So there you go.
Who are you?
I I'm so offended. I have amnesia now. Oh my god. So yes, unfortunately, in regards to this,
Didn't we talk about Pepe becoming a like weird alt-right symbol?
No.
No, we didn't
Did we
talk
not
about
talk
that.
about
No, it got
Okay.
brought up, and I threw it down
Oh.
because of all of the Trump stuff, and I didn't want to get into Trump.
All right. Well, it seems
Yeah.
like we're going to need to give Adam here a bit of a primer. On
Yes,
who
can
Pepe
we
the
please
Frog
do it? Because I already have a feeling I'm going to be getting a bunch. You know what? I'm going to check my email while you guys do this because it's probably going to get flooded.
All right, well, let's start from the very, very beginning. It all started with a cartoonist by the name of Matt Fury and his comic series known as Boys Club, which basically follows a group of stoners, one of said stoners being the frog named Pepe. But then 4chan and the internet, of course being 4chan and the internet, decided to post a lot of memes regarding Pepe the Frog, and, well, what do memes do on the internet? They evolve, they change as people pass them around like a joint. And so they changed over time, and, well, over time, Pepe became a little bit ubiquitous, even to people who had never read the original cartoon by Matt Fury. And that led to the unfortunate result of Pepe being seized as somewhat of a symbol by people who identify as being a part of the alt-right movement.
Wait, hold
Not
on.
so much.
You just made a huge leap there, buddy.
All right, you fill in
Okay,
the gaps because we'll
so-
make this
although
a
you
team
have the
effort.
floor.
Fill in the gaps.
So he kind of became a meme when 4chan, as you said, kind of took him and made a really crude comic where he pees on himself, and there's just a strip of his face and it says "Feels Good Man." So Rare Pepe's became the "Feels Good" meme. So like whenever something feels good, that's what you did. Is you had a Pepe. And then as a meme, he evolved from there to just becoming like this weird feels good like meme, and then like Rare Pepe's became a thing where like you would get like a stupid 4chan post and it said you've encountered a Rare Pepe, collect them, and it would just be the same icon in different colors.
And then you would
and
also
it
get
was-
the. And I remember seeing the depressed Pepes as well that started popping up as well, especially in the wake of things like Gamergate. That's where where I got my first exposure to the symbol that is Pepe the Frog. Was a lot of the depressed looking frog to Pepe the Frog memes that people would recolor and twist to basically make the various changes thereof. And that was part of the memetic evolution that Pepe underwent as a symbol.
And it mostly happened when Donald Trump retweeted a picture of himself as Pepe, or I guess Pepe as him. And then that's kind of when everything just went down the
And
shit.
this was when you brought it to me, and I said, no, I'm not politics.
No, this was still before that.
Oh, okay.
It was probably like a full year before the whole guy getting punched in the face thing happened.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I guess after all of this, Matt Fury has officially, well, killed Pepe the Frog. It's a thing.
Which nobody really cares because 10 people maybe read it. No offense, Matt Fury. I'm pretty sure you're an excellent writer and artist. But 90%.
Again, my knowledge on it was the chat emojis that I would see occasionally come up
You
on a
don't
live
even
stream.
know what
Like,
Pepe is.
I don't. I'll be the first one to admit I don't know what Pepe is, but I do remember seeing his face. That's where this is weird for me. I remember seeing his face, like somebody in the Twitch stream would ask for a wall of shame, and you would get a bunch of little Pepes all feeling bad. Like, okay, well, that's an emoji. I don't know where that's from.
Yeah.
And then I find out that he's an official comic character. Like, okay, well, he's dead now.
I mean, not
Yeah.
really. I mean,
Well,
Streisand effect. You can try and hide something. And
yeah, but I think this is less about trying to stop the memes and more about Matt Fury. I think because Matt Fury even kind of started the Save Pepe campaign to try to counteract the more hateful uses of the character. And so it's not so much, oh, this is to stop the memes. It's just more he's officially saying, okay, you know what? I washed my hands of this whole thing. Guess what? The character's dead, so you're not getting any new material from me. I officially disown and disavow the whole movement. It's basically him saying, you know what? Fine. He's dead. He's dead. I'm done. I give up.
He's even quoted in the story as saying, it's completely insane that Pepe has been labeled as a symbol of hate, etc. But in the end, Pepe is whatever you say he is. And I, the creator, say that Pepe is love. So at that point, he, I think this was pretty much the only solution that was laid out before him. is he had to kill off the character in order to counteract it. Now, here's the thing: comic creators can tend to bring their characters back after so much controversy has eased up. But well, this is the age of the internet, so it's not. I don't think it's likely that he's going to go back into that character anytime soon, because I don't see the meme dying, kind of thing.
Memes never die.
No, they really
Memes
don't.
only evolve.
They only evolve and change
They
and play us like
us.
damn fiddles.
They surround us and bite us and penetrate us. They're in every living thing.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm getting all Obi-Wan on this.
I was actually going to say thank you, Obi-Wan Aldobi. That works for me.
Please never repeat that again.
It was the only thing I could come up with a 5 seconds notice. And the first thing that obviously came to my mind was I want a picture of Aldo dressed up as Yoda on a rock on a T-shirt somewhere. So yeah, let's go. Let's get into the opinions here. Obviously, mine is pretty clear, and apparently Aldo would not have me speak because I do not know who Pepe was.
You can speak.
My thought is it's sad. Like when a comic creator or any kind of creator has to kill off their own character because of all the controversy surrounding it, it's not fun. But when you look at the situation and what Matt Fury was having to deal with, I agree with him. I really don't think there was much of an option. He had to kill the character off and he had to go work on something else. The only difference is that where I've seen other comic creators do it in the past where like they wait 5-10 years and then they bring them back. I just don't think that's going to be able to happen here with the age of the internet. I think when Pepe dies permanently.
I mean, this isn't like a comic, like a superhero comic. Like,
no,
for the type of comic this is, it's actually super uncommon for characters to be killed off. This is like a kid's comic book type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not like a Marvel or Dark Horse or any of those. This is like this is like Berenstein Bears type comic.
Like
I wasn't meaning.
Well, like I'm adding a little bit more context because you're making it sound like he's gonna come back after his body has resuscitated a hibernation chamber.
Yeah, or alternately it's gonna go like
somehow.
Alternately it's gonna be the or alternately it'll be like you'll have the Pepe Phoenix saga and then follow that up with the Dark Pepe saga.
Quick, Pepe, absorb the Pepe force. I don't want to see Pepe dressed up as Marvel Girl. I really don't want to see that happen.
It's gonna happen.
You didn't even know what he looked like. Just kidding.
Actually, I technically do because I've got a picture of the comic right here. So, although I have to disagree with you on this one. Alex, do you have any thoughts on the Pepe the Frog situation?
Well, it's as we've said, memes will never die. The meme will be around forever. I don't know. I think the creator's kind of overreacting a little bit. Oh, so stupid people had to use my character for evil. How will I ever survive? Get over it. Keep doing what you do. But if I don't know, unless he's just using this as a convenience to get out of doing more Pepe so he can go do something else, fine, whatever.
I see your point of view, but I've seen comic creators get really, really, really mad when their characters are misinterpreted.
Yeah, but there's Kermit the Frog memes all over the place that are pretty sketchy. So you don't see the Jim Henson Company killing off Kermit the Frog now, do you?
Jim was. There were a lot of things that I don't think Jim would have agreed with.
Well, yeah, but the other thing
that's true.
But the other thing wouldn't agree with him. Sorry, Roger.
Plus, the other thing to consider is that Kermit the Frog has a foothold in most people's sense of nostalgia, whereas Pepe the Frog, most people first saw Pepe the Frog because of the 4chan memes. So
yeah. So at that point, I mean, I could get his frustration on the matter because it is his creation. So at that point, the fact that his creation was being misinterpreted and thus he has to get rid of that which he loves. Well, I get that, but I mean, I see your point of view, Alex. I also just see the point of view of there really isn't any other way to fix this kind of thing. So unfortunately, Pepe has to go by the way of the dodo. So, although obviously you've kind of displayed your thoughts here, but do you have any additional ones you want to put on?
I mean, not really. I mean, it just kind of sucks, to be a a creator of something and you want to make something like honest and cute for kids and family or whatever, and to become this story. I mean, I imagine he wasn't very happy with the whole feels good meme to begin with, but I'm pretty sure the tipping point was kind of this whole alt-right association, and I don't blame him for it, for essentially him just, like Romney said, washing his hands of it and just being like, I don't really want any of this anymore.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. Because at that point, this is probably what he needed to be able to wash his hands of it, and now he can go work on something brand new, and he can get just as attached to it as he did with Pepe. Okay, let's go ahead and go into since we're almost running out of time here, the final story of tonight, which is not really surprising to me, but I love the fact that a listener brought this to my attention and said, "Oh my gosh!" So first of all, a little clarification. You missed an X. It's not FX. It's not the cable channel that's doing this. It's FXX, which is harder to get access to. But FXX has spoke, and they want and put an order out for a Deadpool animated series. And apparently, I have a problem with this.
Do you?
I don't remember having a problem with this. In fact, I'd probably watch the series if it wasn't on FXX. But yeah,
FXX, don't you?
I don't think so.
You have cable, right?
I have it. Cable? You should have it. It's basic cable.
You have FX and FXX?
Yeah, we have them.
Okay.
And you and I both have Comcast, so you should have it.
Okay, then I guess we do. I just don't watch cable. So when it comes out, I'll watch it, people. Because when I saw the announcement, I'm like, I'm kind of surprised that this wasn't happening in conjunction with the Deadpool movie.
Well,
because that would actually make sense.
Well, keep in mind, the big thing to consider here is that when it comes to these series, since it's being handled more by Marvel Television, which answers to Marvel Studios and not necessarily Fox, that's probably what the holdup was basically sorting out that little legal rights quagmire, especially given that that's what they had to do for Legion, which is also a Marvel Studios sort of take on the X-Men universe.
Yep.
Well,
so at that point, I mean, and any apprehension that I would have had actually gets quelled if you get into a couple of articles on the matter, which is this is going to be a mature cartoon, which is what it should be because it's Deadpool. That's the source material you're working with.
Yeah,
so
basically, from what I'm seeing from what we're gonna get, they're basically doing Archer, but with Deadpool. That's pretty much what this is probably going to be.
You know what? I'm okay with that because Deadpool, I think, works in an animated series. You can't edit him. That's the thing. So at that point, if it's going to be on FXX, well, if it's access to basic cable, I wonder if there actually will be a little bit of editing for it.
What do you mean editing? Do you mean censoring?
Like a little bit of censoring, yeah.
Okay, because you have to edit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Wrong word for that. But
yeah,
there will be a little bit of censoring, but I don't.
Yeah, those don't suddenly spontaneously generate from the ether, fully formed, ready to go. It's not like Deadpool is gonna come out and say "Hey, I already animated the first episode for you." I mean, if he did, you'd probably have a bunch of animation directors suddenly going "Okay, who dosed the coffee with LSD again? Is this a thing that's happening?"
Well, this is already the makings of a Deadpool episode.
Well, he did technically have his own script in the video game, so yeah, technically that did happen. And it did really. Yeah. I don't know if we followed the script, but
of course, that then raises the question: which version of Deadpool, even if they do get a voice double actor, are we going to get one that sounds more in line to the Nolan North Deadpool from the video game, or are they going to try to have the voice actor they eventually cast try to copy more from the Ryan Reynolds playbook? Because although the characters are basically the same, both Nolan North and Ryan Reynolds approach the character somewhat differently when it comes to the vocal intonations.
Yeah, I don't know. And the other thing that makes me kind of wonder is since Ryan Reynolds does have some rights in regards to the character, does he get a say in it?
I mean, he probably has film rights, but so no.
Okay, yeah. Actually, that makes a lot more sense. Film rights.
Actually, and to be fair, I don't think he actually has any rights to it.
Yeah, I think the
I
only.
guess we covered a story where he bought the rights.
Well, he did buy partial.
That's where the whole
rights.
director thing for Deadpool 2 happened.
Well, he bought the rights to make Deadpool movies, but he doesn't actually own the character. The only actor I know of who was in a Marvel-based film who has partial control of the character, and even then it's still fairly limited, is Hugh Jackman. But it's limited to in movies, but not really across other mediums. It's not like when Sony bought the rights to Spider-Man, where they actually got partial rights to the character itself in other media. That's why it took for so long for them to bring Spider-Man back to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, was because Sony actually had partial control of the character of Spider-Man in other media. And so, in this case, it's very much, yes, Ryan Reynolds has control, but only if for Deadpool movies. But that's probably why this is appearing on FXX, which is owned by Fox.
Well, and also just kind of weigh in my opinion on all those question is like, which is this going to be like? Is this going to be more the video game? Or sorry, it was Romney. Yeah, that's right. Where it was going to be more like the game, or it was going to be more like Ryan Reynolds. I think it'll probably be more like Ryan Reynolds because of the movie, and because the people that they're going to advertise to on this are fans of the Deadpool movie. So at that point, I think you're going to get more of the Ryan Reynolds take on it. That's my opinion, though. Let's just go down the line. Thoughts on a Deadpool animated series?
Sure, it'll probably work. It'll get me to watch FXX for something besides the Simpsons reruns.
Oh yeah, that's right. They do the Simpsons reruns, don't they? Forgot about that. Although, any additional thoughts on the matter?
No, I don't care about Deadpool. I'm sorry. Like,
okay.
I don't give a flying shit about Deadpool. Like, the fact that he's super popular and I have to put up with 30 of them at a fucking convention every year is already more Deadpool than I can handle any given year. So the fact that, like, now he's... I mean, I'm not going to watch it, so I don't really care. But
it just reminds me of the College Humor video where they were like at a Comic-Con panel and everybody had Inuyasha ears. That's kind of what happens at cons these days. Is everybody has their own different variation on Deadpool.
well, half the time it's not even a variation. Half the time it's the same stupid, lazy, like, skin suit.
But then they'll justify it and say, "No, this is my alternate dimension Deadpool." Where
No, because they're just regular ass Deadpool. Like, it's just regular ass red skin suit, red. Anyways,
yeah.
I mean,
the other thing too you've seen a lot of is Gwenpool.
I mean,
well, thing is,
yeah,
Deadpool is a separate character. It's not like, I mean, granted, they do make fun of the fact that people assume that it's just like, oh, it's just a female Deadpool, but. And I'm speaking as someone who's actually a fan of the comics, so I do take offense with all, oh yeah, Gwenpool's just been up. No, she's a separate character.
No. What I was saying was, like, you're starting to see more and more con appearances of Gwenpool too.
Well, that's because the comic is actually good.
Yeah.
The character is actually written very well. All things considered, it's the comic series is doing what Deadpool, the comic series, used to do, where it's just basically making fun of all the weird stuff in the Marvel universe. And so with Gwenpool, it was kind of a case of, it started out as a joke variant that the people at Marvel were just like, hey, let's run with it. And the comic series is actually really, really funny.
All right. Well, I think that pretty much sums up our final thoughts on it too. Is just, okay, we'll obviously keep track of this and see what they actually do with it. But unfortunately, when you're in a conceptual stage, there's not really a whole lot known, and so you just kind of have to wing it or run with it. So that actually is going to go ahead and do it for our stories this week. So let's go ahead and wrap things up. If people want to get a hold of us for the various opinions that we've had throughout the course of this podcast, Stephen, Romney, how do they get a hold of you to be able to debate that, as well as give feedback, whatever they want to do?
Sorry, was right about to start when the cough came in. Well, you can always find me here on YouTube at youtube.com/StudioGhostUtah. You can also find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Romney's Reviews, no apostrophe. And I'm also on Twitter at Romney Reviews. And as for this week's Romney's recommendation, I'm going to have to get on a little bit of a soapbox. Some of you may see in my lower third where I basically say I just FCC'd myself. Well, the reason for this is that, well, net neutrality is under attack once again. And, well, the FCC is once again taking public comment on whether or not to keep the Title II protections and to keep the internet protected under the Title II regulations handed down by the FCC back in 2015. However, they're making it a little bit trickier to do that this time and trying to make it harder to access so they don't get as flooded with comments. Enter John Oliver with his segment reminding people that, yes, this is still a thing, and here's how you can comment. And so if you go to the website, gofccyourself.com, you will be taken to a page on the FCC's website, and that will allow you to comment on the filing. That is basically the discussion they are having about these Title II protections. Enter gofccyourself.com, click on Express, type in a comment, keep it civil, because that's the key thing, is keep it civil, and explain why net neutrality is important, and you'll be submitting your comments to an official filing by the FCC. They're still taking public comment at this point, unless the website crashed again from so many people doing it. But that's this week's Romney's recommendation. Is for the sake of net neutrality, go to gofccyourself.com and issue a statement to the FCC of why net neutrality needs to be a thing.
All right. Alex the Shadow Blazer, if people want to give their opinions to you or check out your content, how do they do that?
Well, of course, so you can find me here on YouTube. Shadow Blazer 3000 is my channel name, where I do anime reviews, other anime content, and some game content on the side. And of course, if you want to follow me on social media, especially when you want announcements of brand new videos, then follow me on Twitter at AlexJShort.
All right. And then also, Aldo Gomez, how do people get a hold of you for your opinions, for your content, all that fun stuff?
Before I get into that, if anybody has like a simple, easy to read guide to the freaking Monogatari anime series, I would be very appreciated. Second of all, if you want to send me that, you can send it to me on Twitter at Steamboat Taco. You can also find me on my website at www.boardoffline.com. You can also find me on YouTube, youtube.com/boardoffline, where I will actually have a video coming up soon, probably this weekend.
Ooh. I will be very much interested in that. We will even advertise it. And if people want to get a hold of me, they can do so at two places. First of all, you can go to my Twitter at Drac2326 and leave your opinions there. Or you could leave them via private message or try and chat with me on YouTube. I do try to respond to both of those as best as I can. But if you guys want to get a hold of the podcast and continue to support the podcast, there are 4 ways to be able to do it. And the first one that I want to advertise here is our RSS feed. So you can go to geekyweek.podomatic.com and support us there, because we really do appreciate that. That is where the podcast is. You guys can get the RSS feed, download it, be able to take it on your commute. You don't necessarily need to just be here for the live stream. It's all there, including the iTunes page. So check that out if you would please. And then also, if you want to contribute stories or contribute opinions, feedback, all that fun stuff, you can email us at geekyweek@gmail.com. And that stuff does get listened to, does get read. We also do use the stories when we are able to. And the other 2 ways you can support us are via Twitter and Facebook. You can look us up on Facebook by looking up Geek News, Reviews, and Opinions and liking it, and you'll get access to the page. And along with that, you can go to Twitter at GeekyNRO and support both of those. You'll get up-to-the-minute information when we're going live, the stories we'll be covering, all that fun stuff. So those are the best ways to be able to support the podcast, because we do love and appreciate you guys' support, you guys coming out here to the live chat each and every week to be able to show that support. We do appreciate it. But that's going to go ahead and do it for us this evening. So we thank you guys so much for joining us this week. And for me, for Alex, for Aldo, for Romney, and for so many others. We'll see you guys next week for even more geek news, reviews, and opinions.